A new mayor will be elected in London next week, and the British capital has been particularly hard hit by the coronavirus pandemic and the EU exit in recent months. But how is the metropolis on the Thames today? But before I forget it later on, today at 6 p.m. CET, I'm going to have my very first live stream with a special guest, or with a guest at all, but it is a very special guest today. And I hope to see you there. And I hope to see as many of you there as possible, because it's a very special live stream for me as well. And I'm quite sure it will be very interesting for you as well. So join me and my guest on my live stream at 6 p.m. CET. But let's continue with London. Full outdoor areas in front of the pubs and hustle and bustle in the reopened shops. Anyone looking to London might think that the city has already survived the worst. But this picture could be deceptive. For the 9 million metropolis on the Thames, which will elect a new mayor on May 6th, the consequences of Corona and Brexit may not yet be fully visible. If we are not careful, London will be exposed to a perfect storm from Brexit and this terrible COVID pandemic, warns the incumbent mayor Sadiq Khan of the Labour Party, who is trying to get re-elected in an interview to the DPA news agency. The chances that he will get another term are good. The 50-year-old leads the polls miles ahead of Conservative challenger Sean Bailey. Last year, local government estimates put around 13 billion pounds in stores, hotels and restaurants through the racks. That was how much tourists and commuters had spent the year before. The entertainment industry was particularly hard hit in the West End. The hope now rests on the fact that, in the view of the low number of infections and the fast vaccination rate, all restrictions can actually fall on June 21st as planned. In addition to the consequences of the pandemic, the important financial sector did not experience the great exodus it feared as a result of Brexit, but it did have to accept a noticeable outflow of companies and subsidies. According to a new study by the new financial think tank, 400 companies moved activity and capital to the EU, and it may not have been the last. Khan's concept against the crisis is jobs, 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 but it won't be easy. No other region in the EU, in the UK, lost so many jobs. Nowhere else have so many people been released with a furlough system, which is based on the German short-time work. Many are unlikely to return to their old jobs when government support stops. In a city where the average monthly rent for an apartment is 2,200 euros, and I can really agree with that, it's expensive. Nearly a third of Londoners are estimated to live in relative poverty, or in flat share. The streets in inner city districts such as Kensington, Chelsea or Westminster, which are often used as film sets, are only small parts of this 1,500 square kilometer sea of brick and concrete houses. The glass facades of the skyscrapers in the city or the old port area of Canary Wharf are juxtaposed with concrete residential towers that are spread across the city. The people there live cheaper because it's often social housing, but also in an oppressive confinement. The gigantic local transport network is also under pressure. The transport company TfL, that's Transport for London, is largely dependent on ticket sales. However, these collapsed by 90% in the pandemic. On the positive side, long-term problems such as knife crime and air pollution decreased. It is uncertain whether it will stay that way. A 14-year-old boy died of stab wounds just last weekend. Two practically the same age are under suspicion. In this year alone, almost a dozen people have been killed by knife stabs, all of them teenagers and young men. The background is often difficult to see through. Khan's challenger Bailey promises to bring more police to the streets. The incumbent, on the other hand, relies on a mixture of specialized forces, educational and sports offers for young people, and a mentoring program. Bad air is still a big issue. The tragic death of a 9-year-old girl after an asthma attack was attributed, among other things, to air pollution in her place of residence. But London wouldn't be London if it didn't keep its humor. A certain Count Binface also competes in the election. Count Bindface, behind which a comedian hides, demands, for example, that a hand dryer be implemented in the men's room of a pub in the suburb of Uxbridge. And I didn't look into British newspapers for this on purpose, because I use German media for that one. With you can put in the comments if he's really Count Bindface, which I think, or what the German newspaper made out of it, Graf Garbage Can Face. So let me know. And if you want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel. Auf Wiedersehen.